Welcome to the Pocket-Sized PR podcast, the podcast where pocket-sized portions of PR wisdom are distilled and applied to real-life situations by communications experts. I'm your host, Charlotte Nichols from PR agency Harvey & Hugo, and today on the show we have Paul Lancaster. Paul is a super connector and co-founder and director of Stellar Business Events. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
Now, Paul, please can you define PR for us?
Oh, it's a big question. It's basically putting carefully curated messages out about you and your business through multiple channels. So it's a way for control of the message, I suppose. Hopefully in a positive way.
Yes, yeah, you'd hope so. Yeah, carefully curated. They're important words there. And do you believe, obviously you run many startup events,
yeah.
Can you tell us more about your startup event that you run?
Yeah, so probably a lot of people have heard of, it used to be called Newcastle Start-up Week. So it was a 5-day, multi-venue citywide festival in 2017, 2018, 2019. We had just over 600 people the first 2 years and then 800 people the third year. But that was focused on startups and scale-ups and funding and investment. But also I run a popular event called Platform as well, pretty much every month in Sunderland, Newcastle, Middlesbrough and now Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. They're very focused on, I would say, pre-start all the way up to pre-scale-up. That's sort of my target audience, I suppose. Yep. But we do get a lot of corporates come along and funders and investors as well. But yes, startup and innovation.
And I was lucky enough to speak at one of the Middlesbrough platform events.
Yeah, really enjoyed that.
It was a brilliant event. So we highly recommend those events. But why do you believe, so you've obviously got a lot of experience working with startups. Yeah. Why do you believe PR is so important to startups?
I think it's a really good way to cut through the noise. You know, there's a lot of noise out there, obviously online noise, social media. Everyone's sort of desperately trying to get people's attention and build up their audience. And it's not easy to do that. But if you can get something really considered, well curated out in printed media or online media or radio or TV or even podcasts, you can reach a lot of people in one hit, and gives a bit more, a bit more thought goes into it, a bit more considered, and people take a bit more time to read or listen to that. So I think it's quite cost effective as well.
Definitely.
If you do it right. It doesn't need to cost anything. You can do it on your own, but obviously you can work with a PR agency like yourself, to have more strategic and ongoing or long-term plans around that. But if people are trying to cut through the noise on their own through just purely marketing, it can be very expensive or very time-consuming.
Absolutely.
Difficult to do.
Yes, and I think story is so important for startups in particular because everyone has a story of why they're setting up, why they've started, and people want to know that. And I think PR is a lovely way of sharing that story. Stories are also more memorable, means people are more likely to obviously remember you and then work with you. So I think they're incredibly valuable to a startup, sharing the stories. And like you say, for all I would obviously recommend using an agency, you don't necessarily have to. And especially with all the various multimedia channels you have now at your fingertips, they can tell the world almost online or in the media instantly. Exactly.
And we've benefited from it. I've benefited of it. Like for many years I've been helping other people start and grow businesses, but I was a startup myself in 2016 and I definitely benefited from generating lots of positive PR and media coverage around the events that we were doing. It's I would encourage anyone to spend a bit of time on it.
Yep. Thank you for endorsing that. And what mistakes do you often see startups making PR-wise?
Not being clear on who they are or why people should be interested in them. Just because you've launched a new business or a new website or a new app, it's not particularly interesting. Trying to be clear on what is the angle. And again, that's why someone like yourself can help them understand that. And tailoring the message to the journalist or the publication or the outlet as well, instead of just a one size fits all. Also, I think there's definitely a bit of a trend where people are just going for shock tactics. They're just trying to be controversial, or they're seeing certain people, particularly politicians and some big name entrepreneurs, generate lots of column inches or lots of interest by being controversial, and they're maybe thinking, oh well, that's the way I've got to do it. I've got to be outspoken and wind people up just to get attention.
Yes.
And there's that expression, is like when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. So I think we are definitely influenced by US activities.
I know if someone's personality is naturally controversial and that's true to them, fine, do that. But like you say, sometimes it's not true and you can see through that, and then it's not authentic, and people don't want to work or buy their services, don't want to work with them. But that's a really important part about the meaningful message, because sometimes a startup or someone who's quite new to the commercial world, they might think one thing is meaningful. However, to their customers or to their target audience or to the media, that's not necessarily meaningful or important or emotive. Again, it links back to that story element, making sure that story, that personal purpose, their reason why they're doing what they do is communicated through the story and through the PR.
Yeah. Also think they just don't understand what PR is, or they confuse it with marketing.
Not even startups, a lot of people don't. That's one of the reasons for this podcast.
The word startup, a lot of people think of it as tech. I think startup is anyone who's starting a business in the first 2 years of trading. That's my definition of a startup, right? But some people think tech.
Yes.
But if you're just thinking of tech, a lot of tech people are they just don't like or they don't trust marketing or PR or they think that the technology is going to just sell itself, and they don't appreciate what good PR and good marketing can do.
Absolutely, we see
until it's too late.
Yes, we see it so many times where people have spent, sometimes up to the millions on technology, but haven't allowed enough budget to then properly promote it and give it a chance to actually sell and communicate their message and the good that they can do. Yeah. And that can be incredibly frustrating. I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously when you're running a lot of events, you ask people to speak and you do a lot of public speaking yourself. How important is public speaking as a PR tool?
I think it's really valuable. Again, I think it's a way to cut through the noise, and raise your profile and elevate yourself and demonstrate credibility as well in the space. So if you think about it, think about our events. We've typically got between 50 and 80 people in the room. So if you're a speaker, you've got a captive audience. Everyone's attention is on you and you've got the floor really to talk for maybe 15 minutes or in your case, when we did the interview, it was more like 40 minutes. So that's quite rare, like especially if you're talking about online or digital, to have someone's attention for that long.
Yes.
It's often in the seconds.
Oh, you're so right.
So that's a key thing.
I agree, and it's a privilege to be asked to speak, even in a room of sometimes I think 10 people. It only takes that one person who could be your next customer, or one person who can help you collaborate to then achieve your purpose, your mission. So it's always incredibly valuable. I guess people sometimes don't want to take up the opportunities because they fear what other people will think, or they fear they have nothing to say, or they're a little bit too nervous. What would you say to those people?
I mean, there's different types of events. So like there's not necessarily a hierarchy, but there's like mega events, right? There's like global stage events. So you're not necessarily going to go straight in at that level, but you can start at a lower level and at a more relaxed, friendly environment. Like I definitely think our platform events provide that sort of space for people.
Yes, I agree.
And that's something that people regularly comment on, or how warm and inviting and inclusive they are. Even if you're just a delegate, not just as a speaker. So I'm always looking for speakers. That's a key reason why I'm doing these events. I want to give people an opportunity and a literal platform. So every event, I'm giving new or newish businesses the chance to speak, often for the first time, about themselves and the business and why they started and what they're doing. So again, it's a captive audience. It's a great way for them to raise a profile, because I always announce them online first, so they get a bit of promotion before the event, during the event, and after the event. So it's just a very quick, easy way to cut through the noise.
Yeah, definitely. And then I suppose there's obviously speaking, sharing your personal story, and then speaking about a specialist subject. And what advice would you give in terms of defining that specialist subject?
I mean, it's like our events again. It's quite a loose I'll say to them, look, 15 minutes, you can talk about who you are, what you do, and call to action. That's it. I'm very loose with it.
Yeah.
I don't dictate what they can and can't do. But there's, but you know, I think there's a bit more pressure if you have to go up and you have to like prove that you're an expert or something like that. That's different if you're at a big conference, or you're at an academic conference or something like that, and you're having to show that you're the world-renowned expert or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, horses for courses, I suppose. I like panel discussions. I think panel discussions are really good. Bit less pressure.
Yeah. Because
you can bounce off the other people on the panel. So I really enjoy that. I like sort of thinking on the fly. So yeah, I prefer doing that, and I prefer hosting than I do just standing up and talking.
Yeah, you're right. There's so many different ways, and then there's the more relaxed fireside chat. There's the kind of podcasting like what we're doing now. All sorts. Yeah, people instantly think, right, it's going to be just standing on stage, just on my own, specialist subject. But, you know, in terms of that specialist subject, I would always say carve out a niche for yourself. You know, try and, you know, if everyone's talking about one subject and that's your favourite subject, discover a little niche within that subject, you know, and do your research, do your homework before you do any presentations.
Yeah, like what do you want to be known for?
Yes, totally. Yeah.
So like, I mean, it's not necessarily a good thing, but I know lots of things about lots of different things, different topics and different, like I'm interested in everything basically.
Yes.
And I could talk about all different aspects of business, but I've tried to niche down a bit more, particularly in the last couple of years. It's like, okay, I've fought against calling myself an event organizer or an event producer, but that's what I am. Like I clearly am an event organizer because I've done that many. So if anyone wants to talk about events or networking or communication or
so you're really good at profile building as well,
building audiences online and offline. That's what I'm good at.
Absolutely. But that's a really good point. What do you want to be known for, and have almost a strategic approach to it, rather than just say, right, I want to speak at every single event. I don't care what I'm speaking about. So have a goal behind it, have a purpose that links to your overall business ambitions. And so you've hosted many reputable business events. How do you ensure that your events are really well turned out, and where does PR fit into that strategy?
I mean, it goes back to, I suppose, quality and consistency and momentum. So, you know, I am biased, obviously, but you know, I've put a lot of thought into the events and the speakers and the vibe and the format. You know, I've done a lot of that's come through trial and error. But I've done that many events now. I was working out before. I've done 85 events that I've organised and hosted myself. It'll be 90 by the end of this year. So 4 of them have been really big events. Yeah,
like a week-long event.
Yeah, five-day multi-venue citywide events. You know, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
And I don't think there's anyone else can say they've done that like single-handedly.
Wow.
Obviously, I bring people in as and when I need to, but it's me doing it all, right? But doing that many events and consistently getting good audiences and good feedback, and I think build up that trust and credibility that people know that it's gonna be a good event, or they're gonna come away with something of value. They're gonna learn something. They're gonna meet some valuable new connections. They're gonna be inspired, and people are thankfully talking about them. You know, they say good things about them online, and I capture that. You know, I try to share anytime someone says something good, but I regularly ask for reviews and testimonials and repurpose that in our PR and our marketing as well. But we've got a page on our website. If you go on ukstartupweek.com, there's a page just full of positive media coverage that we've had since 2016, really. And you can sort of trace the beginnings of my business and how I've used PR and media to get the message out. Not just about the events, but about my backstory and why I'm doing it, and what it's for, and how it's going to help, and it's consistent. That as well. There's
absolutely consistency is key. So many people, they give up after a few releases or a few events and just think, oh, it's not really working. But it's that consistency that has a compounding effect over the years, I believe.
Yeah, it's obviously evolved a little bit, but I'm still doing the events for the same reasons, and like, still targeting the same type of people. It's people who are starting or growing businesses in the northeast of England.
And I think what you've done really well is you've developed a powerful personal brand. So how have you elevated your personal brand over the years?
Well, we were talking about before we started. I think when you do events, you do naturally just, it helps raise your profile because you're the one at the front of the room and you're on stage and you're hosting. So, and people are taking photos or they're sharing stuff online, the social media. So that definitely helps. But yeah, I've used pretty much every channel you can think of. I've been very proactive. I've put messages out and press releases out, and I've always responded if someone's got in touch and asked me to do something. I've always said yes. So yeah, shy Ben's getting out. You just gotta don't be afraid to get involved and get stuck in. And I think I don't know, like being, I don't know, again, consistency and being proactive, hopefully likable, or
I think that's a big factor.
Yeah, I think that's probably an under appreciated skill. If
genuinely as well, not just kind of to be kind to then get to your overall purpose.
No,
I think helping people.
Yeah, so I'm known for being very helpful.
Yes, that's super connector word.
Yeah, being super connector. So I do spend a lot of time signposting and matchmaking and doing introductions and helping people. And even at the events as well, I'm organising the events, but I'm always like making sure people are having a good time, and I'm doing introductions. And if I see someone on the road not talking to anyone, I'll go over and I'll talk to them and I'll bring them into a conversation. And I think I set the tone, like that's why helps people feel relaxed and puts them at ease. Because I've got quite a relaxed vibe.
Totally. I agree with all of that. And I've known you for many years now, probably since it started. I think we were probably like two of the very early adopters of Twitter and tweeting away in the early days. And just consistently doing what you do, sharing what you do, and also helping people along the way. I think that's so important in terms of profile building. Yeah. And people remember that. I remember being so shocked once that someone said, "Wow, you've actually done what you said you were going to do." And it's like, well, of course. Right. Even today, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's times when I either misplace an email or forget to reply, but I try and reply to nearly everyone. Not cold sales emails that are totally unsolicited, but people asking about work experience, because I just remember what it was like being in that place. Yeah. And like I say, don't get me wrong, there's probably some that I miss, but my intention is always to try and reply to everyone. Yeah. And I think basic manners go a long way these days.
Yeah, I think you don't have to be likable, you got to be like, I don't know, just human and open.
And be you, and authentic to yourself. And I also think we were talking about this beforehand, just being, quite a straightforward person, not pretending to be otherwise, and sometimes give advice that perhaps is kind long term, but perhaps, sometimes the truth can hurt a little bit. Yeah, yeah. It's a fine line. It's a fine line, yeah. But all important, you said trust and credibility. And I think they're two words that are synonymous with PR. Yeah, well again, it's like cliche, but like know, like, and trust. That's what people say, isn't it? So like, how do you get yourself known? So PR, obviously, and as well as marketing. But and then do people like you? Like, do they like what you're saying? They don't need to like you necessarily. Yeah, exactly. But like, do they think, all right, okay, this person sounds like they know what they're talking about, and I can get behind why they're doing what they're doing or what it's all about, and then can they deliver? So that goes back to the trust side of things as well. Yes. So you might be really liked and well known, but if you can't actually do what you say you can do, then people aren't necessarily going to want to work with you. But going back to the event side of things, I've done that many events now of a high quality that are highly regarded and had big attendances and people talk about them, and I've got all that credibility behind that if someone wanted to know how to do an event or wanted to do an event with us, then I've got evidence that I can deliver. Yeah, you've earned that trust as well over time. And I think that's maybe an important message for startups, that it can take a little while. I remember when I first started up, people would constantly say, "Oh, you haven't got enough experience. Can you demonstrate where you've done that before?" And that can be difficult because you can't necessarily always do that. But over time, you can demonstrate it. But the media and kind of PR techniques can help accelerate that trust. If you've got more people, especially the mass media, saying that you're good, that does help persuade people. Yeah. And about reputation, it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. Yeah. So
hopefully, touch wood, people are saying good things about us.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Okay, so the final question we always ask is, what is your top PR tip?
I think I mentioned it before. I think being consistent, but being human as well. So it's a overused word when people talk about authenticity.
It is.
But
I say it too much.
Yeah, but that's what you want, isn't it? You want people to think, okay, this person is being true to themselves and their values. And I think there's a lot of energy around that. People can tell when you're being true to yourself and your passions. Like people are drawn to that.
Yeah,
people are like all in, like, this is who I am and this is what I'm all about, and I'm doing what I'm in the zone. I'm in flow. This is what I love doing. If you're not, people can tell when you're not being authentic.
Exactly. So be consistently human.
Consistently human, which it's going to become even more important in the coming years, especially around AI and technology. Is like, that authenticity and human element.
If you think about artificial and then intelligence, it's essentially being a fake human, isn't it?
Yeah,
which is the opposite of what we've just said is the best PR tip.
Exactly. And I do use some AI tools, and I'm not against it. I'm not a Luddite or anything like that. Like,
far from it.
No. But I think it's going to become even more important for people to attend events or speak at events and do in-person activities, because at the moment, until the humanoid robots are roaming the earth, you can't fake that. You can't fake the human connection and looking someone in the eyes, or just the feeling and the vibe and the energy that you get from being with someone in the room.
Yes, totally agree. And it's a resounding message lately on this podcast. Almost be more human in a world of the artificial. Thanks very much for your time, Paul.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Nobody can do business with you if they don't know about your business. But nobody will do business with you if your business's brand doesn't have trust and credibility. PR is the secret sauce in the marketing mix that can help achieve this and so much more. If you're interested in how PR can help your business, contact Harvey and Hugo, harveyandhugo.com, or email info@harveyandhugo.com.